Welcome, everybody, to another episode of The Conversation Line brought to you by Fieger Law. I'm Daniella Bruce alongside the Red Wings radio play-by-play announcer Ken Cal, his first episode of the year. Our guest, though, was Todd McLellan. Great conversation. We talked a lot about hockey, of course, but we learned a lot about what Todd likes outside of hockey, too. And one of the things is baseball, his second favorite sport. You like baseball a lot, too, right?
Yeah, I do, Daniella. And of course, I played high school baseball, 1 year college baseball at Wayne State. But you and I were talking a couple of years ago about we had our 50th reunion for my high school team that won the Catholic League Championship 1973 at the old Tiger Stadium. And I had an opportunity with my teammates to play on the field and actually had a pretty good day. Went 3 for 4, scored the winning run in the game. We shut out Our Lady of the Lakes 5-0. So, yeah, I love baseball.
What position did you play?
I was an outfielder. I played center field that game. Yep.
You could run then.
I covered a lot of ground, and if you look at me now, I can't run to first base. The old knees, you know what I mean? But no, it was fun. And, I also, in college at Wayne State, I also dabbled in catching. We needed a catcher because our catcher got hurt. And I said, I can catch, and then so I ended up catching 3 or 4 games, and I thought that was really cool because you're really into the game with the pitcher. And when you're an outfielder, you're flipping grass around, you're waiting for a fly ball to come out to you. There's a lot of dead time out there, right? Your mind's thinking different things.
I could see you getting easily distracted.
Yeah, you're scratching the grass and, you're not always in the game, but when you're a catcher, you're always in the game because every pitch,
you're in.
It's between you and the pitcher.
Yeah, you're definitely in it. Also talked a little bit about lake life, and we know you like the lake life. Did you have a good summer out there?
Yeah, I did. I know you like getting out on the lake.
I love the lake. Lake St. Clair is probably my favorite. I was a little busy with baseball this year myself, but yeah, I love getting out on the lake. The play-by-play, it's a good time out there.
Yeah, the play-by-play is running good. Needs some maintenance work, but that's how boats are, right? You just throw cash in it, and they're expensive, but they're great on a 90-degree day out in the middle of Lake St. Clair.
So Ken's expensive hobby is boating. Todd McLellan talks to us about one of his expensive hobbies too that you'll hear a little bit later. That was pretty fun. But Ken, when it comes to this Red Wings team, which obviously we're going to talk a lot about in this episode, what have been your early impressions?
I guess consistency and we've seen some inconsistent play with this Red Wing team. They're like Jekyll and Hyde. It seems like some game they're playing great, 5-game win streak, and then other times they're not playing great. Yeah. The 7-2 loss to the New York Islanders or the 4-2 loss to the Buffalo Sabres. So I think it's a growing process with this team, and I think that's what drives the coaches crazy because they know they can play a certain way and they can be successful, but it doesn't always happen that way.
Yeah, they definitely have had the ups and downs. Todd McLellan has been great so far about kind of picking those coaching moments too, right? The other obvious one I can think of from this season was right after opening night, a disappointing performance at home against the Canadiens. And Todd McLellan calls out his team and you see them turn it around. But Ken, you're going to have some of those moments with a team where you're infusing youth the way the Red Wings are right now, but they have to learn from it, grow from it, and get better as the season goes on.
Well, you're right. And there's not one team that starts the season and is going to win all 82 games, right? It's just not going to happen. But what you want to see from your team is growing within the team throughout the entire year. And the team by the end of the year will be totally different, hopefully in a good way, than at the start of the season. So I think it's a little more difficult when you have younger players on the team because they're looking for direction and they're looking for some help from the veteran players and might take them some time to get things going. But hopefully by mid-season, they understand what they need to do from the coaching staff. They understand what to do as a player, and they can meld all that together. And then you start going on a roll and you start winning a lot of hockey games.
Todd also told us who his favorite players were to ever coach. And, sometimes coaches are hesitant to answer this, because they don't want to call. He no problem. He answered it like, I know who my favorite players were to coach, and I'm going to answer that with confidence. I'm not going to give it away, but I want to ask Ken, who were your favorite players to watch? Even if it's not a Red Wing, who were your favorite players to watch?
Well, my all-time favorite is Gordie Howe.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough, I'm old enough to go back to his last 2 or 3 years with the Red Wings back in the late 60s, early 70s. And he was just a fantastic player to watch. He could do it all. And even at an older age, he still had the smarts and the ability to play the game and be successful. and he could do it all. He was a right-handed shot, but sometimes he'd switch the stick over, and they had straight blades back then, and he could shoot it left-handed. He could fight. He could do the things that other people can't do. He could control the game, and if you gave him a little shot, you're going to pay for it. And he was just a great player to watch. And just think of all the years he played. I mean, he played so many years in the National Hockey League and was effective. He was my all-time favorite.
That's what's interesting about a player like that, because you play through so many different eras of hockey, right? And the game is always changing. It's still changing. I bet he could still play. Gordie Howe prime in this league.
Gordie was unbelievable. And he was a great teammate too. If you look at or ask other players that he played with, they would tell you the same thing, that he was just a fabulous teammate and would do anything for you. I just remember a quick story. Billy Day played on the Red Wings back in the late 50s and in the 60s. And he needed one more goal at the end of the season to get a bonus. And Gordie just told him at the beginning of the game, and he knew it. He knew he needed that one goal. He says, just keep your stick on the ice and get in front of the net. He says, I'll get you the puck and I'll get you that bonus, So sure enough, Billy Day's in front of the net, and he got his goal, he got his bonus, and everybody was happy.
That's amazing. I love it. What a great teammate that is.
Absolutely.
Let's get to Todd McLellan, everybody.
Over the blue line to Dylan Larkin. Now to Raymond. He shoots. Oh my goodness!
You're not Doug Deep, you're Ken Pell. You're the hockey guy. I don't know anything about it.
Patrick Kane in Chicago. Oh my God! With the overtime winner.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of The Conversation Line, brought to you by Fieger Law. I'm Daniella Bruce, alongside the Red Wings radio announcer, Ken Kell. And joining us today, the Red Wings head coach, Todd McLellan. Todd, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. He must not have scared you off too much last year, because you decided to come back for more.
Well, Ken has scared me a few times, but I'm willing to come back for you.
Okay, great. Oh, I'll take that one. We'll take that one. I want to start with this. This team is interesting because of how the mix of the veterans and the youth, and it's like some extreme youth, and then there's some in the middle range, and just a very young team, and you've got some veterans too. Have you coached a team with this much of a mix before?
Probably somewhere along the line, but It doesn't jump out at me right away. What's unique about our team is that the kids, when I say kids, they're young men, they're not kids, but the youngsters that are in the lineup are actually contributing and becoming factors. Some of the other teams that I've been on, other than Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, all those type of players, the youngsters come in and they're just scrapping to stay in the lineup, and they're not really factors. You're trying to train them and get them to become better players, but they're just surviving. For the most part, our young players that have come in have done a real good job at excelling. And the older players have accepted them. They've been really good with them. Our team doesn't have much in the middle. We don't have a lot of 25, 26, 28-year-old players. We're either a little bit older with the senior group and a little bit younger with the junior group.
What's it like, Todd? Let's say you have a loss that you're not pleased with the way the players played, like that New York Islander game several games ago. How do you react? Are you able to sleep at night, or are you one of those guys that can go to sleep and put it aside till the next time you practice?
Well, you know what? If I say yes to that, then I make it about me. And it's not about me. It's not about the coaching staff. It's about the players. And it's really similar to parenting, I think. My boys at home, or if you guys have families, you work with your kids, you send them to school, you hope they're learning and doing the things they need to do, and then boom, something happens, and an event occurs, and you're either really happy with how they deal with it, or you're disappointed. And that's no different than coaching this group of players. We try and train them, we try and set them up for success. We turn them loose, and they get to go play the game they love. And it doesn't always go their way. Sometimes it's because they're ill prepared, and we're responsible for that as well. Sometimes it just doesn't work for them. They're not feeling good physically, and then we've got to evaluate that way. And sometimes the other team or the test is just too hard on that given day. So we have to be really aware of what caused the problem, if it is a problem, or what caused the A+ test, and make sure that we recognize it and deal with those issues, either positive or negative.
just from observing what you've been able to do with this team in your time here so far, to me, it feels like you're very good at picking your coaching moments, right? And deciding where to
Yeah.
put your opinion in or not to, or go hard or go not too hard. But I'm wondering how you developed that style that you have.
I've probably evolved over time, and I think parenting has helped me. Like it,
Yeah.
Old school coaching used to be very rigid. It was my way or the highway. And I was taught that when I was a player. It was, this is how you did it. If you don't like it, basically get the hell out.
Yeah.
But that doesn't work anymore. These young people are really talented, and they're creative. They want to be creative. They want to be seen and exposed. And we have to allow some of that, but yet we have to give them guidelines. And I believe that the coaches create the moment, or pardon me, the players create the moments for us. We just have to recognize them. And that comes again, I think, from being a family at home. There's moments that you need to pay attention to at home, and you have to address them now. And it's not always negatives. You have to catch people doing things right. And if I caught our boys at home doing something right, I better catch it. I better acknowledge it, because I know they're going to do it again. And I think that's maybe bringing the parenting world into the coaching world. At least that's how I approach it.
Do you see more players now when you're giving them assignments in practice, asking why, as opposed to, okay, I'm just going to do it because the coach says we're going to do it?
And coaching has changed from this is how we're going to do it to this is how and why we're going to do it, because the players ask those questions. Now, if they understand why we're doing something, you have a way better chance at success. If they're just doing something, a task that may be not real meaningful to them, it's going to come out empty. But if it means something to them and they know they're doing it for a reason, there's a carrot at the end for them, they'll put everything they have into it because there's a reward. And the why part's really important to the players now, and they're allowed to ask that question. In the past, never happened that way.
Was that an adjustment for you? Not so much as having a reason why you're doing things, but having to explain it at a practice or in a game or wherever it may be?
Early in my coaching career, yes, because I grew up with a shut up and just play era. And we had to live through that. I think my early era was where it started to change. Players began to ask more questions. We encouraged them to. I often think about what it was like when I was a player, and not being suppressed, but not being willing to ask why or how come, probably set me back some days. So I wanted to open that up for the players and allow them to do that. Now, if it's continual and it becomes an overburdening why, sometimes that's on the player too. They know the answer and quit asking the question, just get the job done.
Todd, is it exciting to you to be able to coach this Detroit Red Wing team, knowing what they've gone through in the past and the challenge of you bringing them to the threshold of perhaps making the playoffs and going further?
Well, I think what's unique about my situation is I was here for really good years in the past. And the people I'm working with now they played significant parts in that. Whether they were, Steve was playing my first year and then he became a manager, but Draper, Maltby, all these players that are around and have roles in the organization, all were part of that time when I was there. So when I come back, I reunite with them, and the best communication tools that I have is we can talk about those days. We used to do it like this, but it's changed a little bit now. Or we're still doing it the same way and our players are finally getting it. And it makes our relationship a little bit easier. It's a little easier for management to understand what I'm talking about because they've lived it and played it. It's exciting to come back. We're all pushing for the same goal. It doesn't matter if you were here in the past or not, but it's exciting to come back and try and grow a group and push them through. A little bit like the stock market, you gotta hit a certain level and break through, and that's what we're trying to do right now.
What is it that makes a successful manager, so Steve Yzerman and coach relationship? So what makes that a good relationship, or how do you strengthen that?
Well, communication.
Yeah.
And Steve has a job to do, I have a job to do, and as long as we're communicating, we may not always agree on things. We'll have debates, we may not agree. But if we're communicating and I'm sharing my honest thoughts with him and he's willing to accept them, and then vice versa, we've got a great relationship. And that's what goes on right now. It gets a little bit hairy later on if you lose trust or you don't believe in each other, but we're nowhere near that point. But, over time, you've seen managers and coaches stay together for many, many years. I'm thinking of the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
They won how many Super Bowls, and that combination of owner and manager and coach, quarterback was there forever. But eventually it can dwindle if you're not communicating.
Todd, you've coached 1,201 games now as we talk.
Geez.
That's a long time. I know it gets hairy on the bench at times, and it's really serious. But are there times when you kind of chuckle at something that goes on and you got to hold it in or something like that?
All the time. There's levity is a real good thing to have sometimes on the bench because it's just so intense and you can feel the tension going one way or the other. And sometimes we'll try and find a moment to just lighten it up a bit. There's enough of the gruff and the pushing that sometimes that moment you can even get more out of the team or the players and their characters. They do some not so smart things sometimes, and we do too. Like we're the butt of some jokes sometimes too with some of the crap we pull.
Have you seen so Mickey Redmond goes down there for the third period during broadcast. He's been having some smelling salts when he goes down there for the third period. And I'm wondering, do you guys notice what he's doing down there?
Well, I remember watching Mickey when I was a kid, and there was no such thing as smelling salts.
Right.
And it didn't seem to affect him. So at his age now, I'm not sure why he's trying it, but whatever works for the individual. So good for Mick.
They say it clears the head. I'm not so sure about
Okay.
that.
It does something.
Yeah.
That's funny. You mentioned that, well, you've kind of done a couple times comparing coaching to parenting. Did you coach your kids at all?
I helped coach my kids. So, my boys are different ages. So you'd go on the ice and you'd help coach. And eventually you were taking over the practice, which wasn't healthy.
Right.
And I always sat back and said, I'll support you in practice, but you're the coach, you take charge. One of the things that I found about coaching Tyson in particular, the older one, was that when practice wasn't going well, they were young kids and you had to be maybe the disciplinarian at that moment. You always took it out on him because you didn't want to take it out on anybody else's kids. And maybe he was the one actually doing it right. And I'd have to explain on the way home in the car, like he'd be pouting and I'd have to tell him like that was for the team. Like, or no, it was clean it up. You didn't work hard enough. But a lot of times he took the brunt for the team and I had to remind him of that.
What's the biggest challenge when you coach youngsters? And we've seen a lot go through the organization now, but veterans have their own MO, I guess. But what about the youngsters?
Well, all those veterans were youngsters at one time, and they just grew up. So everybody has their first day at something, and then from there they just chip on. And the evolution of the game and everything else that's gone into it, I don't know if it makes it easier or harder on the players because they're so well trained, they're so strong. They get psychological help, they get nutritional help, and it's not just them, it's the whole league. So everybody's keeping up to each other, and it happens so fast. But the ones that have courage, the ones that are willing to put themselves out there, tend to have a little more success. And the ones that get caught up in the emotional part of it and self-evaluation that's not real positive, they fall off a little bit and need to go get a reset. But that's what the youth goes through now.
Have you found yourself at all having to give any more of your attention to some of the younger guys on this team?
I think you always have to.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out how to play hockey in the NHL. They're trying to figure out life away from the rink, and they're trying to figure out their teammates. And all of a sudden, these 4 or 5 guys walk in suits that control their ice time, and it can be very intimidating. So we don't want them in that type of environment. We want them in an environment where we can go to them and they feel comfortable enough to sit with us, and we can take them through the good and the bad in their game. So we have to be aware of that. The older players, they've gone through it already, and that's why you get all that experience. You can be a lot more direct. You don't worry about hurting feelings quite as much, and they usually respond right away. The younger ones, you need a little more coddling, probably not a good word, but a little more handling, I guess, is the word, to get them through moments.
A lot of youngsters have made the team this year, and one in particular, Emmett Finney. Here's a guy who was drafted 7th overall. He starts the season on the top line with Lucas Raymond, Dylan Larkin. What have you seen from Emmett Finney that maybe you didn't see from youngsters in the past? Like, how special is he?
Trust. It's a real simple word, but we approach the game and we look for, 20 players start tonight, and not everybody's having a good night. So you're looking for the 12, 15 players that you can really trust that night, and you play them a little bit more maybe than others. And Emmett's been able to provide that. I didn't know we were going to get that from him. I knew that he was a very hardworking young man. He's had to scrap for everything he's ever got. He was a 7th-round draft pick. He learned how to play at a young age on both sides of the puck. And that's where the trust comes in. A lot of the superstar players that are coming into the league right now have tremendous offensive skills. They're evaluated. They self-evaluate based on it. They get rewarded for it. But there's way more to the game than just skating to the other end and shooting it in the net. You've got to be able to defend. You've got to be able to game manage. You've got to be able to play with teammates, in all different situations. And Emmett checks the boxes on that side of the puck as well.
Have you found yourself using data and analytics more as a coach? I think it's different for everybody, right? The amount you want to use, but there's so much that seems to be at your fingertips now.
There is, and it's endless. And hockey's a really tough game to quantify analytics to. It's always moving, and it's never the same thing twice. When you take baseball, for example, the Tigers are playing, and that pitcher gets to the mound and he faces a batter, he gets to restart every pitch. And analytically, he can go through what the count is. He can go through what the batter's tendencies are. I know they've got, cards in their hats now or in their pockets, and that's all analytically driven. Our players don't have time, other than maybe on a face-off, to pull a card out, and we never would, to analytically look at anything. And the analytics are very valuable, but they can't chart fatigue. They can't chart, what's happening at the end of a shift versus the beginning of a shift. They can't separate referees' influence. It can't separate ice conditions. There's so many things that analytics can give you, but yet it misses out on some of the intangibles.
You and Trent Yanni have a pretty good relationship. How far back does that grow and go? And how are you able to bounce ideas off of him to make things work?
Yeah, Jans and I have been together for a long, long time. We played junior hockey together, and then we separated. We went our own ways. He was fortunate enough to play a lot of years in the NHL while I was coaching in junior. And when he was done, he became a coach, and our paths connected again. And we've been together off and on for a lot of years. The connectivity between the two is an honest connection. It's almost like we're married too. Like we converse and we tell each other, I think, what we need to hear. And he keeps me organized. He keeps me aware. Like there's been many times he's just telling me, you're not seeing it. You don't see it. And I need that. Head coaches need that. They don't need people that always just agree. They need people to keep them focused and direct and organized and honest with themselves. And I think I can do that for him too. So the relationship's been strong. There's days where he doesn't like me. There's days I don't like him. That happens. But we always drive home together, so it seems to be a good marriage.
Not that you guys have a ton of free time, but how much of it do you spend with him? Do you guys do anything outside of hockey?
We do. Our wives have a relationship too. We've been together for so long. So we'll meet up in Birmingham for dinner on the odd night. We're date night, and the four of us want to go out. But other than that, he's got his life. He's got 2 grandkids that are unreal. When they come to town, we want to steal them or at least participate with them, and until we get our own.
Todd, everybody has hobbies, and I know the last time we talked, you mentioned you had a bourbon collection. How did all that start, and what's your bourbon collection look like?
Well, I don't know how it started, because I don't really drink that much, but I like collecting it, and I've acquired a taste for it. I enjoy the taste now. Probably 10, 12, 15 years ago, I was introduced to it and hated it. Just couldn't stand the taste of it. Couldn't believe people would drink this. And then I met a few people that basically taught me how to drink it. And there's a skill to it, and the nose and the tongue and the finish and all that type of stuff. And you begin to analyze the flavors. And it becomes an enjoyable hobby. But the most fun I have is hunting for particular bottles. It's hard to find old stuff. It's hard to find unique stuff, the rare stuff. And when you go on the road, you can find communities that maybe don't value it as much, and you can find old dusty bottles somewhere, and you meet a lot of people along the way. So it's been a good hobby for me.
What's your favorite one you've ever found or that you have?
Oh, you know what? I'm a Michter's fan, but my very first bourbon that I actually liked was Elmer T. Lee. So it's a Buffalo Trace production. It's very easy drinking. It's got real good, I like caramel type flavor. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big Scotch fan. I don't enjoy the peat very much. So I'm bourbon 1, rye 2, and then the odd Scotch here or there. But Elmer T. Lee was probably my early favorite, so I continue to tell people that's my favorite now.
Is there a bottle that's really aged that you have that you look at yourself and you go like, wow, how did I pick that one up?
Well, I have a couple bottles that have specific dates. Like I have an OFC 96. It's an old-fashioned copper 96, and that's the birth year of my first son, Tyson. They haven't produced the 99 for whatever reason. I'm looking for that. But those are some sentimental collecting ones where maybe when the grad kids come, or there's a real unique milestone, a certain wedding anniversary, or we're celebrating something, we'll drink that together. If they ever get an interest in it, I'm not sure they'll go there, but we'll see what happens.
That's funny. Your son Tyson is playing still, right? Is he in Germany?
He is. He's still playing. Him and his wife are in Cockburn, Germany. They've been over in Europe, I think, for 5 or 6 years now. He went over right after college, and they have a great life there. He gets to do something he loves. She works remotely back in the U.S., but she can work from there. Has a great job, and they are foodies. They're travelers, so anytime they get time off, they're going to another country, and they've been everywhere from Dubai to the Swiss Alps to Hungary, you name it. They've seen almost every country over there in their time, and good for them.
Do they speak German at all, or?
They do. They can speak it. They can't write it real well. They can understand simple German, enough to get by. And the German people are really good. If you make any type of effort to speak German, they'll jump right into the English right away and help you out. So they're really good that way.
Have you been over there to visit him?
We've been over 3 times maybe. When I've been jobless, we quickly jump on a plane and we go over and visit them. Unreal experience for my wife and I. And what was unique this summer is we took the whole family on a summer vacation. So both boys, both wives, and Debbie and myself went, and that was a bucket list thing.
That's very cool.
Will never forget that.
Now you're a guy that likes to get out on the lake too. You like the boat and be out in the sunshine in the off season.
Yeah, we summer in Kelowna, British Columbia, which is a very nice spot. The hockey world knows it. There's that area. There's the Muskokas in Ontario, and there's a place now in Idaho that a lot of hockey people tend to go to. And I happen to be in Kelowna. We live on the water. We're very lucky, fortunate, and spend a lot of time in the boat, a lot of surfing, and not so much fishing, but just a bottle of wine in the evening and the sunsets. For my wife and I, it's very relaxing and soothing.
Did you know he has a boat? Did he tell you?
I haven't been invited, and I'm not sure I'm going to take him up on it.
He calls it the play-by-play.
It's the
got a
play-by-play,
good name on
oh,
on the back of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Lake St. Clair. Have you been out there?
You know what? When we won the cup in 08, I think we went on a boat ride on Lake St. Clair. Don't remember much about it, but I know we were on a boat somewhere out there.
He doesn't remember much of his boat rides out there.
I don't remember
either.
much of the summer, that's for sure.
You mentioned baseball too, and I wanted to talk about this with you. Is it your second favorite sport next to hockey?
I would say it is.
Yeah.
Again, I had an opportunity to play baseball when I was young, and we were in a strong baseball community. And then when I coached in Houston, my oldest was old enough at that time to play ball, and some of the ex-major league players were coaching, and the facilities and the leagues they played in. It was incredible how well-trained they were. It reminded me of hockey in Canada, to tell you the truth. But overall, I really enjoy the game. I think it's a lot like chess on a grass field. The way they move people around, the way they set things up, It's not always about just this pitch. It's about 2 pitches later. It's about, thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead and spending some time with AJ, just listening to him set up his lineup and how he plans things. That's a chess match. And, he believes that he can get 2 or 3 moves ahead and eventually take somebody's king.
Would you ever consider taking batting practice over at Comerica Park?
Oh, no, not a chance. I'll go watch it. You and me both, we're going to be on the sidelines. I'll fall apart if I
have
start
this
swinging
thing
a bat.
when I'm over there. I want one of their pitchers. Nobody has taken me up on it yet to just throw a pitch to me. I'm not going to swing. I just want to see it. I want to see a fastball coming in at 100 miles an hour like it does.
Well, it's coming. It's coming.
I'd probably jump out of the way.
And they're probably all afraid one might get away.
That's
on
what
them.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll sign whatever I need to. Just
They would happily throw at Ken.
That's right, exactly.
So, did you play baseball?
I did, yeah.
You did.
When I
What
was a kid.
position?
I was usually third baseman.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Power hitter? Or,
Yeah.
no power here.
power.
No.
All right, I'm going to pivot back to hockey a little bit. 100 years of Red Wings hockey, and we've talked about you experienced some of the history of this organization, and so many of management and everybody that's still involved here has experienced the really good times.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite memories of being a part of the Red Wings?
Well, the number one thing would be obviously the winning the cup in 08. The way we went about it. My 3 years here, probably the best team we had was my first year in 05. I don't know, we won 56, 57 games. And then the next year we may have been even a little bit better, but Kenny kept changing things a little bit. And we finally put a team together that had all the ingredients to push all the way through. And it wasn't adding more goal scoring. It was bringing in Dallas Drake. Darren McCarty came back. Those types of players. Brian Rafalski was a really good addition. Brad Stewart. Adding those guys to the team that just completed the recipe, if you will. So that was really good. But the people are where most of the memories go to. Mr. Howe, Mr. Delvecchio, Mr. Lindsay walking through the locker room. McCrimmons, both McCrimmons were around the organization a little bit every now and then. Pat Verbeek, Steve, so many people that were involved in the game. Just Mr. and Mrs. I at the time. And they would walk around and be part of the team. And I tell people that my first stint here was like going to Harvard. It was the Harvard of hockey. If you came here with your eyes open and you're willing to listen, it was an opportunity to learn as an assistant coach. And I hope I took advantage of that because there's still stuff I use from those days.
Well, it's interesting because after you left the Red Wings, you went to San Jose and you had a really good year. I think your team won over 50 games that first year. Did you expect that type of success going to another team?
I was
winning?
really, really fortunate to take that team over in San Jose. Not often does a young, inexperienced head coach get a Stanley Cup caliber type team to coach. And the teams there in San Jose were tremendous teams. It reminded me a lot of my stint here, and we just couldn't break through for whatever reason. But there were dominant players there. There were great people in the organization. The guys were close. They had, they really believed they could win. And it just didn't happen. But it reminded me a lot of what we were doing here.
I'm going to ask you a deep question.
Uh-oh.
Why is it that you love coaching?
Well, the competitive spirit that's in somebody that's done it for a long time, something seems to keep drawing you back to the game. And I tell my wife and my kids, I'm going to keep doing this while I still have that and still enjoy it. I still enjoy coming to the rink. Why? Because I think I can help people. I think I can make a difference, and it's rewarding to see that happen in front of you. That's the reward that we get as coaches. So maybe I still enjoy that. I think I do. I like the chess match of hockey too. It's a little bit like that. I think we still can make a difference. When I don't think that anymore, it'll be time.
What about your game prep and when does that all start? Let's say you're going to play a team, in a couple of days. How does that all work? Tell the fans how that would work.
Well, we're always ahead. So we just played St. Louis, and there's a lot of work and prep that goes into that game, but that started 2 or 3 games prior. We have an assistant coach that's working on pre-scouting their team days ahead of that. And so they gather up all the important information. We share it amongst the staff. we begin to plan for that. Now we put some of that into play in practice. Here's what we're going to see. This is what it's going to feel like. Use St. Louis for an example. This is what makes them unique. And we'll practice and try and work to prepare for their team, but we're also trying to work on our game. We'll come in the morning and we'll have some meetings in the morning. Pre-game skate sometimes it's optional. We'll come back in the afternoon, prepare for the evening, have more meetings. And then when we get on the bench, all our work's basically done. We just got to make sure we try and get the right people on the ice. And a lot of teams have the father's or the mother's trip. And I remember taking my dad on the first trip and got up at 6 a.m. or 5:30 or whatever it was. And I was going to the rink and he's going, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to work." And he goes, "Well, already? The game's tonight." And I said, "All our work is done way before the game even starts." And even for him, who's been around the game for a long time, he didn't understand the amount of hours and the prep that goes into it. And I'm sure it's the same with the Lions and the Tigers and the Pistons they're playing. And those the coaching staffs, not always the head coach, but the coaching staffs, put in an enormous amount of hours just to try and prepare the players to give them every edge they possibly can.
How about a practice day? So let's say practice is at noon. When are you here?
I'm up real early, so I can't sleep. So I'm up at 5. Sometimes at home I'll do my work. I'll pick Trent up in the morning. We'll drive down together. We'll get here around 6:30, and then we'll continue to work. I believe that when the players arrive at the arena for whatever time that is, whether we practice at 11 or noon, we should be there to service them right away. So we should be done all of our work. We should be able to walk around with computers or clips and show them and explain things to them. If they have questions, we should be prepared to answer them, not sitting in our offices doing our own work. So we're morning workers. We get ready for the team, and then we always plan practice together. We have a real good idea of what everybody's job is during practice. We believe in pace in practice, moving from drill to drill as quick as we can to keep that energy up. When practice is over, we all have jobs to do real quick, but when we're done, go home. I don't want the coaches just sitting here because it's 4:30 in the afternoon. You shouldn't go home till 5. I don't believe in that. If you get your work done, go home, get some rest, and get away from it a little bit. So we're early morning to post-practice and done for the day.
You've coached a lot of great players in your time in the National Hockey League. Just for example, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Andrzej Kopitar, Joe Thornton, Joe Pavelski, the list goes on and on. Wow. Not to mention some of the players that played here in Detroit. But if you could bunch all those players together, what's a common trait that those great players have?
They love being at the rink. They love hockey. Not every player loves it. Sometimes they're doing it, they get rewarded real well, and it's hard for some individuals. But it becomes a job. These superstars just love being at the rink. Doesn't seem like work to them. And then they have minds that capture things. They can tell Wayne Gretzky, you can sit around and have a bourbon with him, and he can tell you about a play in 1988 and the detail in it. And then all of a sudden you see it up on Hockey Night in Canada, and he's described it perfectly. And it happened 35 years ago. They have superior minds for the game too. So you combine the love of the game, the mind for the game, and then the passion and the skill that goes with it. It makes them really unique.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. We did a little game with Patrick Kane when he was on the podcast, just giving him like a date and the opponent, and he knew the goal that he scored, right?
And probably knows how and
yeah.
how it was set up, and it may not be a significant one. It was one of his 485 or whatever he has, but he'll remember it, and those special players have that.
What about the division you're in right now? I mean, it seems like it's a pretty tough division, the Atlantic Division, and there's teams that really haven't made the playoffs, like Buffalo in the past, maybe Montreal, they made it last year, but this is a tough division. How do you approach going into this year with the teams that you have in your division?
It is a very tough division. It has been, and it'll continue to be. Teams are going to evolve, whether they have to rebuild or retool, and you drop down a little bit, but as soon as that happens, somebody replaces them and takes their spot. So it's competitive every night. The Tampa Bay Lightning, the Florida Panthers, they've won a lot of cups over the last few years. They're still in our division. And then there's the up-and-comers that are really pushing. We hope that we're one of those groups and looking to knock off the big boys. But we don't necessarily talk about it. We don't say, hey, we got this many games against these teams. The season's so long, we try and stay in the present present, and just deal with things one day at a time. And players are well aware of the standings. If they tell you they're not looking, they're lying. They know where they sit. They know which teams are having good years and bad years. But it shouldn't affect the way we prep or the way we play. We have to play our best every night, regardless of who it is.
I always say this. I say coaches look at the game different than the fans. And they do. You watch the game totally different than, let's say, Joe Schmo on the street, right? Or how do you see the game?
We have to see it different because we're looking at cause and effect, really. And goals just don't happen because of the last pass across the crease. A lot of times it's happened 200 feet away from your net. Something happened in the offensive zone and it set up the mistake at your net. So we have to back things up, and we have to look at cause and effect way more than a fan does. We live in the computers. We can move things around and really look at for patterns. What's going right? What's going wrong? When you're a fan, you get caught up in the excitement and the emotion. So do we as coaches, but you get caught up in that, and you don't always understand cause and effect. You know what the result is, and you know whether you're happy or not with it, but you can't always pinpoint what caused it.
Okay, last one for you. Who is your favorite player to coach ever, and why?
My favorite player to coach? Well, there was two guys that were really unique. They taught me maybe more than I taught them. And one played here, and he wore number 13. So Pavel Datsyuk. And I was an assistant coach then, so the assistants tend to stay on the ice with the guys after a little bit more, and it becomes a little more relaxed, and you're working on individual skills. And Pavel used to set up drills for me just to be the pawn in the drill. And he would tell me to do certain things, and he'd tell me to do it harder or slower or faster because he was training himself for moments in the game. And I think that's another thing that really unique players do. They know they're going to have a moment in a game where they have to use a skill, and they train for it. Joe Pavelski was the exact same way. So those two players train for moments where a lot of players just come to the rink and whatever the coach tells them to do, they're doing. But after practice, pre-practice, both Pavel and Joe Pavelski were inquisitive. They would ask goaltenders about certain situations, and they would practice those moments. And I really appreciated that as a coach.
Were you always okay with staying there with Pavel?
Oh, yeah, until he'd make me look silly, but that was okay. Now I'd be in big trouble.
Yeah. Well, Todd, we appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Oh,
Great
thanks for having me.
conversation.